Hi, welcome back to my channel, According to Kat. If you are new here, please introduce yourself in the comments below. If you're returning, just say hi. And what are we going to be making today?
Okay everyone, today we are making these 7 all new fall DIYs. I used mostly Dollar Tree and other very affordable products. I think these are so easy to make. They're farmhouse, they're rustic, and they are perfect for the fall season. And if you would like to learn how to make all 7 of these all new fall DIYs, make sure you stay tuned.
If you'd like to know what supplies I've used, check out the description box below. And with all that being said, let's get right into the video.
Okay, DIY number 1, fall sign with wheat. So the first thing I did was I took these popsicle sticks, and I've used them on another project. If you had seen me make the big acorn, you knew I used the curved ends to make the top of that. So I had these sticks left over, but any large popsicle sticks will do. I got these from the Dollar Tree, and I am just making sure the long pieces are all the same size. I'm making an F and 2 L's out of these, and you can see I am making the smaller horizontal pieces. The L's will be the same, and then the F, you can see it was staggered in size. Now I am taking the Waverly Antique Wax, and I'm going to stain these popsicle sticks. Now, the reason I love to use the antique wax, it doesn't smell as harsh as stain does, and it doesn't take as long to dry. I really like the tint of the brown that it gives, and yeah, I definitely like using the antique wax by Waverly. So I only give it 1 coat, and I make sure that I don't go too heavy-handed because then it tends to get very dark very quickly. So just go light on it. Now I am taking these 4 long boxes from the Dollar Tree. These are the ones that are hollow in the back, and I am going to make these 4 look like shiplap. So what I'm going to do is glue them all together, and then I'm going to paint them all white. I am just using regular hot glue, and it stuck fine for me. If you would like something that will stay more permanent, you can use E6000 or the Fix All glue from the Dollar Tree, which I love that glue. Anything will do, but the hot glue worked fine, and it's still holding perfectly well. So right now I am just making sure they're even, and I'm pressing in the sides and, you know, just pressing it down. Now I am taking my Waverly Chalk Paint in white, and I am sure to give this 2 really good coats. And even if I saw any places where I thought it was a little bare, I went back with a 3rd little coat. I made sure I covered this very well because it is shiny, and sometimes like that shiny coat like on products that doesn't take paint well, even though it is chalk paint, it covers pretty much anything, but you just have to be careful because sometimes the underneath will show through. Now I am taking this metallic paint. This is from Folk Art, and it is sterling silver, and I am going to be making dots. Now these dots are to represent, you can see I'm holding my hand still, they are to represent like I used nails. Now the idea for this project came from Pinterest. I saw a big fall sign that looked very similar to this, but it was like a big shiplap sign you'd put like over your mantle, and I thought, you know, I could make a small one using Dollar Tree products. And they used real nails because it was real pieces of wood that they nailed into the shiplap, but I obviously couldn't nail into those hollow boards, you know, like the hollow, yeah, the boards from Dollar Tree. So I thought I'm going to make little pretend ones, and you can see I just went around and I gave some of that sterling paint, put it right on the end of a dowel, and made dots as my nails. Waited for that to dry, and make sure you wait because some of them were a little thicker than others, and you could see how cute that looks. So once these faux shiplap boards are dry, you could see I was taking a pencil, and right between where those creases are, I am just going through there to define that space a little more so you can see it. Look how I'm rushing, because you can see, yeah. I had to leave that in there because, yeah, did it again. Why was I going so fast, and why did I not use like my ruler or something? I don't know. But I really did like how the pencil made it look, because it really did separate those boards a little more. So now I'm just dry fitting my fall letters, and you can see there wasn't that much space, so I had to really make sure I dry fit it, because there really isn't that much space, but it did work out. So I am just hot gluing these wooden pieces on, the popsicle sticks on, and that worked fine for me. And then I just went through and hot glued them all on. And it was fine. And it was really nice because the lines with the faux shiplap really helped me keep it straight. So I didn't need to use my square or my ruler or anything to keep it straight. So this worked out perfectly. And make sure not to put too much hot glue on these sticks, because then it will seep out. And my last piece right here, I'm gluing that on. Okay, so cute, love it. Exactly what I was trying to get. Now, the next part is getting my wheat on there. So this is from the Dollar Tree. So far everything that you've seen here is from the Dollar Tree except for the paint. Now I am taking some of the Dollar Tree wheat, and I am just kind of joining it together, just a little bundle. This is some burlap ribbon that I got from burlapfabric.com from a while ago, and I am just using that as a way to join all my pieces of wheat together, putting a little hot glue on there and just moving that ribbon around, cutting off any excess, and that is how I'm going to attach it to the fall sign. Gluing on a little bow, just tied it like you would tie your shoes, and just glued that in place. And the wheat is taking place of the letter A, obviously. And so cute. I love this, and I hope you like it as much as I do. Number 2, Harvest Gold Frame. This one is super quick and super easy. I took this Dollar Tree frame. I used it in another DIY, and I had taken the glass out because I used it and glued something to it. So I am just taking this decorative paper, and I am just tracing the back of the frame so I get the perfect size, and I'm going to attach it to the back of the frame. So I don't like to use Mod Podge for this because it gets very bumpy for me. So I just like to use spray adhesive, and this works out just fine. And you know, I don't need to protect it. If you would like to protect it, you can use Mod Podge spray, or you can just use the regular Mod Podge. People have better luck with it than I do sometimes. And yeah, I was fine with it just being exposed the way it is. So I put a couple dots of glue in each of the corners just to help this stay in place, because since the glass is not in there, it does not take up room, and it was like moving around on me. So I just kind of put some dots of glue in the corners just to keep it stable. This is so quick and so easy. And I am just spreading it out with, I think, a little piece of a stick. Use what you got, right? Okay, So that is good to go. And now I'm going to take one of my Dollar Tree words. This comes in a 3-pack, and this is one of the fall words in the metal, and it says harvest. It looks so cool. Now I am taking this Gorilla Super Glue gel, and I'm just going to put a few dots of this on because it holds very, very well. And this is super light, so it will be just fine. Now, I will tell you, be careful because I put it right there under those letters, and then after it dried I went and saw that it ate some of the gold paint that's on it, which is fine because you can't really see it, but yeah, it did. So don't be putting a whole bunch on. Now I'm just taking some twine and I'm hot gluing it in the back, and I'm just wrapping it around, and I'm making sure that it's more crisscrossy than it is straight. And then I will just hot glue it in the back and cut it. And then I will take the same twine and make a little bow out of it, just like you would tie your shoes. And then I will hot glue that to the front. And that's the easiest way for me to add a little bow to something. I'd rather add it at the end than tie it while it's on there. And just a dab, because you can see how little this bow is. And I just put it right there on the side. And that is it for this DIY. I hope you like it as much as I do. Okay, on to DIY number 3, wired raffia pumpkin. I got these wired raffia pieces from the thrift store, okay? Now you can get them at Dollar Tree and they come in like a roll, so you'd have to cut them into pieces. Now these pieces were about 15 inches long, and like I said, you could just cut them. What I did was formed them into the letter D, and so I made one straight side and one rounded side. I took some regular masking tape, just put it where they met up, the two end pieces met up, and just wrapped it around pretty tightly about, I don't know, 8 to 10 times. I didn't even care if the masking tape was in the same area, just in the same ballpark is good. So again, you can see I just made one straight side and then a rounded side. Now, some pieces like this piece right here, you can see how I struggled with it and wasn't able to get it as rounded and straight as the other one. So I had to work with that one a little bit. Yeah, some ones were a little easier to make than others. And you can see on my next one, it goes like right into place, but it wasn't hard. You just manipulate it a little bit. So this is when I realized I need to have all of my tape ready to go because, you know, then it was all coming apart. So make sure you just take some pieces of masking tape and just cut them and put them on the table. It was easier to have like a little assembly line. And I made about, I want to say about 22 Ds. That's what I counted. You can make more. I did have some more. I didn't want the wires to be too close together, but so I wanted some space between them. Now, what I'm doing here is taking some Dollar Tree wire, and that's what I'm going to use to wrap around the middle. Now, I made up this raffia pumpkin by myself, so you know, this was trial and error to see what would work. This did work for me, putting the wire around. Do I think there's another way? Of course, I'm sure there's another way, but this did work for me. And I thought, okay, now I got to cover the masking tape in the wire. And I did figure out a way to do that. But the wire allowed me to manipulate all of those wires, the raffia wires, so that I could form it into a pumpkin. Now, some of them didn't look as straight as others, so I really did have to play around with it a bit, but it just fell right into place. Now, I knew I had to manipulate the raffia wires again because I needed to get to that center. So the first time that I kind of formed this pumpkin, it was just to see if it would work. Now I got to get my hands in there and wrap that center so you don't see all the masking tape and the wire. So what I did was I took that same what's that called? Is there ever a video that I don't forget a word? No, seriously. The burlap ribbon, and I'm going to just wrap that right around the center. Now, the burlap ribbon really did match the raffia wire, so that's why I thought it looked really good together. And I'm just using regular hot glue, and I'm just making sure you don't see that masking tape, so I'm closing it in pretty close together. So every once in a while, I'll put some hot glue. I didn't put it around the whole thing, but it worked out perfectly fine. And I'm just now folding over that last piece, and now I'm going back to manipulating this pumpkin once again. And I did play around with it quite a bit because you can see some of those loops or the deformations are kind of out of whack now since I was sticking my hand in there. Okay, so moving on. This is Dollar Tree leaves, and I really liked this bunch of leaves because they were not shiny, and look how pretty they are. I really like them. They look really natural. So what I'm doing is right in the middle there where all of those wires met up, there is a hole. So it was so nice to be able to just stick the wire from those leaves right down into that hole, and it held those into place just fine. I'm cutting off a little berry that was white. It just didn't have the color on it. Now I'm taking a couple extra leaves just to cover up that center part there, and I didn't want to stick any more in the middle, so that's just how I handled that. And again, I'm still manipulating the pumpkin. Here is that Dollar Tree stem, and again, I'm just hot gluing that right on the bottom and putting that in place. Again, those leaves were kind of bending in weird formations, so I just took them and, you know, kind of hot glued them to the wire next to it, and that held it nice and straight, and they didn't bend over. And you can see I am now putting on a pine cone, and I just hot glued that on. I'm taking that same burlap ribbon, making a simple bow like you would tie your shoes, and I am going to glue that right to the stem. And this is just so cute. Oh, I'm burning it, of course. I want to take any extra fuzz off just to clean it up. Tiny bit of hot glue and gluing that right to the front of the stem. This is finished. So easy, so pretty. I love this one. Really, I do love this one. This was my husband's favorite out of the whole bunch of 7, but you can see I really have to play with that. See the right there? Yeah, now I got it. Okay, I hope you like this as much as I do. DIY number 4, rustic stick candle. This one is so easy and so cheap. I took this ribbon, and this is a really large spool of ribbon. Do you call it a spool? I'm going to call it a spool. And I got that from Costco last Christmas. And I love to buy ribbon at Christmas. I said it before because you can get huge quantities for such a great price. Now, I bought this brown because I thought, oh, I could use it all year long, and it's rustic and it could fit during any time of year, really. And what I did here is just very simply wrapped it around a Dollar Tree battery operated candle and hot glued that in place. Don't put too much hot glue because even though it is not a real candle, it does have a waxy coating on the outside. So if you put all that hot glue, it's not going to work out for you because of the wax. And I am just wrapping that around. Now, I do this a lot with ribbon. I will double up ribbon and make it look like a really thick piece of ribbon. And the way I do this is then I put a ribbon in the middle. I'm sure if you watch my channel, you've seen me do this so many times. So that's what I usually do. I'll wrap another one right around the middle. But in this situation, I'm just leaving it like that for now. And I am going to take some sticks that I had in my yard. And if they're a little too big, I'm just breaking them. And I am just going to take some hot glue and gluing them right to the ribbon. Now, the reason I had to put the ribbon there is because those sticks would not have glued very easily to the waxy candle. So that ribbon really held those sticks in place. And I'm using my little clippers here and just clipping them down until I got the size I wanted. And they didn't need to be perfect because I did not want this to be perfect. I really wanted it to look super rustic and super natural because we always find sticks on candles. I'm not quite sure. But I wanted it just to have more of a rustic look. And I spaced these just by eye. I didn't use a ruler or anything. So I just went right around. Now you can see some of those sticks are straight up and down and some have more of like a Y shape to it. I kind of staggered it. Like I would do one Y-shaped stick and then one straight up and down stick. And that worked out just fine for me. And I am just going straight around and really not spending too much time on each stick. I just put a tiny bit. I didn't want the glue to be like seeping out from behind the sticks and all over the ribbon underneath. So I just was a little more careful about that. Okay, moving on to the next step. So what I did was I took this Dollar Tree lace ribbon and I am now going to tie that right around the center where those two ribbons underneath met up. So I'm kind of hiding that a bit and I am just hot gluing that in place. And then I'm taking a piece of twine and going right on top of that lace ribbon. You know I love to layer my ribbons and bows and twines. I just like to layer. I like the look of that. So again, I'm just tying a simple knot right there and then putting a bow in place and then cutting off any excess. And that just gave this rustic little candle just a little more, I don't know, natural look to it and added another element. Again, I'm putting a little dot of hot glue just to hold that bow in place. And this little easy DIY is done, and I hope you like it as much as I do. On to DIY number 5, rope handled wooden crate. So I took these little boxes from the Dollar Tree and I took all of the inserts out. So what I'm going to do is only use the inserts. I am going to hot glue all 3 boxes together. Now, I know there's an opening on each of those, but we're going to cover those up again with some ribbon. So I'm just making sure these are straight. And now I'm going to take this ribbon that I got from Hobby Lobby. Make sure you get it on sale. So it was about $2. You can use Dollar Tree ribbon, but I am trying to use up everything I have before I buy more. I just don't like to keep buying if I have stuff at home. So what I'm doing is starting in the back, and I am making sure I'm covering those openings in the wood pieces. And I'm going right around, putting little dabs of hot glue as I go. Now the only place where I put a lot of hot glue is right on the back, so that I knew that it would cover those openings and stay covered. Now you won't even see the inside of this, so it's okay the way it is. Now I'm taking my ticking ribbon, and you know this is my favorite ribbon. I use it all the time. Here's another option from the Dollar Tree, but the Dollar Tree does have ticking ribbon. I just have not found it yet. And I am just taking some hot glue, putting it right in the center, again layering my ribbons because I just love to do that. Tiny bit of hot glue, and I'm just going to go right around and make sure that goes right down the center of that chevron. And remember, if you are liking this video so far, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps my channel, and subscribe. Okay, so now I'm taking a Dollar Tree pool noodle, and I'm just going to use it as some, to take up some area inside of each of those boxes. And then I'm taking some regular cardboard and just putting that right on top as a way to build up the bottom, so I don't have to put too much in the inside. Now you can put some candles in there, but make sure you don't light them, because I don't need anybody to start any fires. Or you can use some battery operated candles. I decided to use some Dollar Tree mini pine cones, and I'm just filling up all of these little squares, and I just love the way it looked. Now, this is what I did wrong. I thought, you know what, I think it should have some feet. So I'm taking some of these wooden beads that you get from Hobby Lobby in a package, and I'm hot gluing them to the bottom. Now, this worked out fine because I didn't really need to flip it over or anything. I just kind of gauged where the corners were, but it would have been much easier to do without all those pine cones in, but I didn't feel like taking them out, putting them back in. But yeah. And you can see I actually am doing other stuff now. Again, don't put the pine cones into the end. And I'm just taking a piece of twine, wrapping it around the middle just to add one more layer. I just make myself laugh. And I am just putting little dots of hot glue as I go around so that the piece of twine stays in place, cutting off any excess. And then I will just take a piece and make a simple bow and hot glue that right onto the front. Not too much hot glue because you will see it, these bows are so tiny. So I will just put a tiny little dab right where that knot is. I just love little simple bows like this. And that is it for this part. And there's one last thing I want to do here. So I think at this point that I want some handles. So I had some leftover rope from Dollar Tree, and it was just a small piece, but it was enough to get 2 handles out of it. I really need new scissors. I can't even cut through that rope. So I am just folding it in half and getting 2 pieces, and then I will put knots on both sides of both of those pieces, and that's what I'm going to hot glue to the sides of the crate. Again, try to do this before you put all those mini pine cones inside, because yeah, you don't see me doing it in certain parts, but there were pine cones flying. I kept having to put them back in, and yeah. So I am just using some regular hot glue and putting that right on to the wooden sides, and that held up just fine. Like, I won't be carrying it around by these handles, so this is more just decorative. And if you need a little more, just go back in with a little dab. And this is done. So I hope you like this as much as I do. DIY number 6, gray block pumpkin. So what I am doing here is, this is like a two-parter. So I took this Waverly Chalk Paint in Elephant, and I am giving one of these little pumpkins from Dollar Tree. It is like the foam ones, those baby foam ones, and I'm giving it a good coat. I do go back for a second coat just to make sure I'm getting good coverage on that little pumpkin. I am using my old sanding sponge as a way to let it dry, because that sanding sponge has seen better days. So I'm still getting use out of it. Now I am taking my folk art paint in sterling silver, and that is a metallic paint. I love to use this to create the metal look, and this just dabbed on right on top of that Elephant Waverly Chalk Paint does such a great job making this look galvanized. Now I'm taking some burnt umber, and right from Walmart, all these paints I got from Walmart. Every single paint you see here I got from Walmart. The burnt umber gives it more of like a rusted look, and I just put a couple dabs of that on the top and the bottom, taking that piece of Dollar Tree wire, wrapping it around a stick or a pencil or something, and making a little curly cue like you would see on a pumpkin, a tendril, and I am just sticking that right inside the pumpkin because it's foam and it's a piece of wire, so you can do that. Now I put the stem right back in the pumpkin that it came with, but you will see I do change that out in the next part. So now I'm just taking a tiny piece of raffia, tying that in a knot. I did not put it in a bow, I just put it in a little knot and hot glued that in place. It's so cute. Okay, let's move on to part 2. I took this wooden block pumpkin from Dollar Tree, took off the raffia bow, and I'm going to sand away as much of this glitter as I can using my very, very old sanding sponge. But I got a little life out of it before I have to throw it away. So I then wiped away any excess glitter, and now I am taking this Waverly Chalk Paint in Elephant, which is a nice dark gray, and I'm giving it a good coat, and I will go back for a second coat after this dries. Now before I painted it, I should have taken off the stem, but I wasn't sure if I was going to take it off or not, and then I knew once I painted it that I wanted to take it off, but it does kind of break the top apart a little bit, but that's okay because I'm going to cover that up anyway. Okay, so now I'm taking this ribbon. It really is like, I don't know, I love this ribbon. It's gray, but it has like, I don't know, a tweed look to it almost. I don't have much of it left. This was from Hobby Lobby. I only had enough to get 2 little pieces out of it, and I'm going to wrap that right around the center of the pumpkin. And like I said before, I love to double it up to make it look like a really wide ribbon, and then I put another piece down the center so you won't even know that it was 2 pieces. And I'm just hot gluing that in place, and then taking my favorite ticking ribbon from Hobby Lobby, the other one's from Hobby Lobby as well, and I'm just going to wrap that right around the middle and hot glue that right over that middle seam. Again, back to layering my bows. And the other thing I like to do with my ribbons is make a flat bow, and I'm sure you have seen me make those before, and I almost made a flat bow on the front of this, and then I had a different idea. I decide I want to use one of these Dollar Tree wooden stickers that come in a huge pack of leaves and pumpkins, and I put a little pumpkin right on the center of that ticking ribbon, and I just think it looks so cute. And I'm taking a piece of stick that I had from outside, just broke that and put that right there on top with a little hot glue, taking some of that lace ribbon from Dollar Tree, cutting off any excess, and at this point you could stop. And I think this looks so cute, but then I don't know why, but I felt like it needed something on the one side. I felt like it looked a little bare over there, so I just took a piece of twine and I wrapped it around my hand a little bit and made a little bow to put right there on the side. Again, you don't need to add it, but I thought it needed a little something and I liked it like that. Now this is where I was like, that looks very natural with that, you know, that stick as the stem. So then I wanted a little stem on this little pumpkin and hot glued that right in place, and I definitely like them together much more. I hope you like it as much as I do. Now we are on to DIY number 7, our last one, pool noodle pumpkins. Now I decided I wanted to make a different kind of pumpkin, so I was thinking about it and I came up with using a pool noodle. Now I have not seen this done before. It might have been done, but I haven't seen it. So what I first thought I would do is cut some different sizes, and then I'm going to shape the top and bottom of it, just kind of round it off a bit. I know they're more like cylinders and I was okay with them looking like that, but I thought, let me just round it off to give it more of a pumpkin shape. And I didn't really think too hard about this. I just went around and kind of rounded the top and the bottom. And it was super easy to cut with the scissors, so it was perfect. So I made one tall one, one medium one, and one small one. Just giving it a bit of a haircut, and then I'll just throw this away. So now this is a towel, like a kitchen towel. Now I've had this in my stash, so that's what I'm going to use for one of the pumpkins. Now this hat is from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to use this hat for 2 of the pumpkins. So the inside is more of like a fur, the outside is like a piece of fleece, and all I did was just put that noodle in the center and took all the fabric and put it right around, stuffed it in the middle, used something that I could push that down with a little more, and that is all I did. I didn't even like hot glue that. I put a little hot glue on that stick just to make sure it kind of stayed in place. Again, with the fur, I did the same thing. This was the inside of the hat from Dollar Tree, and I just pushed it in. This was like the easiest craft ever. So cute. And I love that that material was so thin. It was so easy to manipulate. But then on the little one, this is where I struggled a bit. Again, I'm just using sticks from outside to put right into the center. I kind of switched them here. And so cute. This is where I struggled a bit. So the difference with this fabric is it was a little thicker. Okay, a lot thicker. So it really didn't gather as easily and go right in the middle. So that is what my advice is to you. If you do this, use thin fabrics and it would work even better than that towel. But that was the only one I had trouble with. The other 2 went in super easy, as you saw. I'm cutting off any excess to kind of help me get that into the center without it gathering so much. And I'm able to do it. This is just a bit more of a struggle. I'm cutting off a little more. So I wanted to show you how this was a little harder, and so the better. And I love that little hole right down the middle. It's so easy to stuff everything in. You don't even need to glue. It's so great. And put a little stem inside. Now, at this point, I realized I wanted a little something else on top that would give it more of a rustic look, and I'm taking those wooden stickers from Dollar Tree, and I am using the leaves this time. So what I'm doing is just wrapping around some twine, tying it into a knot, and cutting off any excess. Super easy. And I will do that to all 3 of them, and then I'm going to hot glue those little wooden leaves from the Dollar Tree right on top. And that is just so cute. Put a little dab of hot glue so it stays in there. Tying on the twine once again, cutting off any excess. Hot gluing the little leaf on top. And last but not least, on to the third. And tying on the twine and then gluing on that wooden leaf. And we are done with this final DIY. And I hope you like these as much as I do. So here we are at the final reveal, my favorite part of the video because we get to recap everything we just made. So the first thing we made was this fall sign. I love how this turned out. I love the faux shiplap, and yeah, this is so cute. The next thing we made was this simple harvest sign. Really easy and quick to make, and I just love the colors on there. I love the decorative paper. Then we have the Raffia wired pumpkin. I love this one so much. It's so different than what I have been seeing out there and just so cool. Then we have the very rustic stick candle, and I love rustic DIYs. Then we have the little wooden box with the rope handles. So neat. You could fill that with anything. There's so many ideas I have for that. Then we have the gray pumpkins, the wooden pumpkin with the other wood pumpkin on top. And next we have the pool noodle pumpkins. That's a lot. We had a lot going on here. 7 to be exact. So tell me, which one is your favorite? I am going to go with the fall sign. That one is my favorite. You tell me in the comments below which one of these is your favorite, and thank you so much for watching, guys.
So that's it. That's the end of my video. I hope you liked everything you saw here today, and I hope it inspires you to make something of your own. If you have not checked me out at Instagram over at Cat Luna Designs, I would love if you did. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up. It really helps my channel. And subscribe if you haven't already. And as always, thanks for watching. Bye! Hi, welcome back to my channel, According to Cat. If you are new here, please, with all that being said, let's get right into the video. Wait, didn't I just say that? Let's tone this down a bit. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. It really helps my channel. And, so that's it. That's the end. Oh, you can see my mess on that table. Let's not look at that table because it looks messy. And my arm hurt from holding it. If you have not checked me out at Instagram, I can't.